order po ako.
Takot ako pag ngumingiti si Gigit. Nakakatakot. Ang bored. Sabi mo na, punta muna ako dun sa meeting kung ganyan. Hindi, nagbago ko. Hindi pa na ako maalis. Tanong mo. Hanggang ending. Stay ako dito. Hindi, pupunta ako sa meeting.
Ito talagang kabatchmate. Batchmate kasi.
Binabati ko sa ko ngayon sa Twitter. Ano tawag ko? Yellow card. Ay, kulit na. It is from the truth. Kaya, hindi mo na-atake. Hindi mo
Kalayaan kang nasa
katotohanan.
wala.
Bakit paano? Bakit ba tayo?
Ikaw pa yung binibigay.
Ako pa yung yellow card. Sabi ko, kung mapapansin ninyo mga ganyan. Yung mga sinasabi ko na
Paano ka nalaman?
sabi ko kasi statement ko, ego, kay SC invites impeachment or extradition. Yun yung sabi ni ano ni nung tweet sa WPRD. Oo. Puro yellow card na lang. Oo, hindi nga ako ever liberal eh. Ako pa ngayon ng yellow card. Ito sana, ano? Oo. Pero bigla na din si ano, si Kit Baliw. At saka yung ex-legal vista, Kit Baliw sila.
All of the above. Yung ang naging yellow ko. Naka-discuss ako yellow.
Guys, ka ngayon.
Hindi, orange.
Ay, nako.
Iba, meeting ng Vanessa. So ano nga? Exactly.
Hindi sir, si Remy sir, pinaturan niyo.
Session is now called to order. Everybody is requested to rise for the singing of the Philippine National Anthem. Please remain standing for a minute of silent prayer. Majority Leader,
Madam Speaker, Your Honor, I move that we defer the calling of the roll. So move, Madam Speaker.
is there any objection? The chair hears none. The roll call is deferred.
Madam Speaker, I move that we defer the approval of Journal Number 8. So move, Madam Speaker, Your Honor.
Is there any objection? The chair hears none. The approval of the journal of the previous session is deferred.
Madam Speaker, Your Honor, I move that we hold a reference of business. Could the Secretary General be directed to read the title of bills and resolutions on first reading, as well as committee reports and communications for referral to committee? So move, Madam Speaker, Your Honor.
Is there any objection? The chair hears none. The motion is approved. The Secretary General is directed to read the reference of business.
Reference of business, bills on first reading, House Bill 2378 is strengthening the barangay unit through support of barangay officials, Representative Silverio.
To the Committee on Local Government.
House Bill 2379, reducing the corporate income tax rate, Representative Kimbo.
To the Committee on Ways and Means.
House Bill 2380, introducing divorce in the Philippines, Representatives De Jesus and Brosas.
To the Committee on Revision of Laws.
House Bill 2381, mandating the construction of Panaon Island Circumferential Road, Representative Percado.
To the Committee on Public Works and Highways.
House Bill 2382, declaring July 25 every year as National Campus Press Freedom Day, Representative Escudero.
To the Committee on Public Information.
House Bill numbers 2383, 2384, 2421, 2422, 2425, 2492 to 2495, 2502 to 2504, 2519 to 2523, 2532 to 2538, 2543, 2547, and 2562. Converting certain roads into national roads, Representative Escudero, Gonzales, several others.
To the Committee on Public Works and Highways.
House Bill 2385, institutionalizing a system of performance planning, budgeting, and accountability, Representative Abad.
To the Committee on Appropriations.
House Bill 2386, ensuring the fundamental equality of men and women, Representative Abad.
To the Committee on Women and Gender Equality.
House Bill 2387, enforcing greater accountability in public financial management, Representative Abad.
To the Committee on Appropriations.
House Bill 2388, institutionalizing energy efficiency, Representative Abad.
To the Committee on Energy.
House Bill 2389, defining employment relationships, Representative Paduano.
To the Committee on Labor and Employment.
House Bill 2390, declaring the Verde Passage Marine Corridor in the province of Batangas, Mindoro as protected area, Representative Abu.
To the Committee on Natural Resources.
House Bill 2391, changing the allocation formula used in the computation of the share of LGUs, Representative Roman.
To the Special Committee on Basis Conversion.
House Bill 2392, classifying the services of franchise grantees, Representative Sarate.
To the Committee on Ways and Means.
House Bill 2393, imposing a 3-year moratorium on tuition and other fee increases, Representative Sarate.
To the Committee on Higher and Technical Education.
House Bill 2394, abolishing the motor vehicle users charge, Representative Sarate.
To the Committee on Public Works and Highways.
House Bill 2395, providing for mandatory additional insurance coverage and benefits, Representative Sarate.
To the Committee on Public Information.
House Bill 2396, amending Republic Act 7277, Representative C. Alvarado.
To the Committee on Social Services.
House Bill 2397, establishing a green building standard, Representative Bundok.
To the Committee on Public Works and Highways.
House Bill 2398, increasing the bed capacity of Jose B. Lingad Memorial General Hospital, Representative Bundok.
To the Committee on Health.
House Bill 2399, abolishing the ROTC, Representative Elago.
To the Committee on Higher Technical Education.
House Bill 2400, including values formation as a separate subject in the elementary and secondary curricula, Representative Gomez.
To the Committee on Basic Education and Culture.
House Bill 2401, providing for the construction of one toilet for 5 classrooms, Representative Gomez.
To the Committee on Basic Education and Culture.
House Bill 2402, providing for the construction of an additional building for the Ormoc City Jail, Representative Gomez.
To the Committee on Justice.
House Bill 2403, defining and providing for more severe penalties for large-scale exploration and exploitation of coral reefs and fishing, Representative Gomez.
To the Committee on Aquaculture and Fisheries Resources.
House Bill 2404, creating the National Film Archive, Representative Gomez.
To the Committee on Public Information.
House Bill 2405, strengthening the provisions of Public Act 8550, Representative Gomez.
To the Committee on Aquaculture and Fisheries Resources.
House Bill 2406, mandating the LTO to open its branches or offices on Saturdays, Representative Gomez.
To the Committee on Transportation.
House Bill numbers 2407 to 2420, 2423, 2424, and 2506 to 2508, establishing nationalized schools, Representative Maporo and Martinez.
To the Committee on Basic Education and Culture.
House Bill 2426, implementing the organization and modernization of the PNP, Representative Abu.
To the Committee on Public Order and Safety.
House Bill 2427, restructuring the income taxes imposed on individuals and corporations, Representative Javier.
To the Committee on Ways and Means.
House Bill 2428, expanding the jurisdiction of the Court of Appeals, Representative Defensor.
To the Committee on Justice.
House Bill 2429, establishing the Sangley Point Special Economic Zone, Representative Abaya.
To the Committee on Economic Affairs and the Committee on Trade and Industry.
House Bill 2430, creating the Sustainable Bicol River Development Authority, Representative Villafuerte.
To the Committee on Government Enterprises and Privatization.
House Bill 2431, creating a separate district engineering office in the city of Iligan, Representative Xiao.
To the Committee on Public Works and Highways.
House Bill 2432, extending the validity of Philippine passports, Representative Owabinal.
To the Committee on Foreign Affairs.
House Bill 2433, creating 2 additional RTC branches in the province of Batangas, Representative Colliantes.
To the Committee on Justice.
House Bill 2434, mandating the inclusion of all punong barangays within the coverage of the GSIS and PhilHealth, Representative
To the
Colliantes.
Committee on Government Enterprises and Privatization and the Committee on Health.
House Bill 2435, regulating the Philippine credit card industry, Representative
To the
Colliantes.
Committee on Banks and Financial Intermediaries.
House Bill 2436, amending Republic Act 7653, Representative Colliantes.
To the Committee on Banks and Financial Intermediaries.
House Bill 2437, amending Republic Act 10742, Representative Ferrer.
To the Committee on Local Government.
House Bill 2438, amending Republic Act 9689, Representative Ramos.
To the Committee on Public Works and Highways.
House Bill 2439, amending Republic Act 10149, Representative Villarin.
To the Committee on Government Enterprises and Privatization.
House Bill 2440, providing for the protection, security, and benefits of whistleblowers, Representative Arenas.
To the Committee on Justice.
House Bill 2441, prohibiting the sale of cigars, cigarettes, and alcoholic or intoxicating liquors, and Montoro.
To the Committee on Trade and Industry.
House Bill 2442, establishing city and municipal rehabilitation centers, Representative Montoro.
To the Committee on Welfare of Children.
House Bill 2443, promoting the protection, conservation, and rehabilitation of watersheds, Representative Montoro.
To the Committee on Agriculture and Food.
House Bill 2444, prohibiting the use of fine mesh nets, Representative Yap Arthur.
To the Committee on Aquaculture and Fisheries Resources.
House Bill 2445, providing compensation to farmers, Representative Yap Arthur.
To the Committee on Government Enterprises and Privatization.
House Bill 2446, creating the Bohol Ports Authority, Representative Yap Arthur.
To the Committee on Government Enterprises and Privatization, the Committee on Transportation.
House Bill 2447, prohibiting the imposition of expiration of prepaid cards, Representative Arthur Yap.
To the Committee on Information and Communications Technology.
House Bill 2448, providing for an Artist Welfare Protection and Information Act, Representative Yap Arthur.
To the Committee on Basic Education and Culture.
House Bill 2449, providing for automatic adjustment of the basic monthly pension, Representative Arthur Yap.
To the Committee on Government Enterprises and Privatization.
House Bill 2450, providing for representation in all levels of local government for senior citizens, Representative Arthur Yap.
To the Committee on Local Government.
House Bill 2451, developing and expanding public health infrastructure and services, Representative Arthur Yap.
To the Committee on Health.
House Bill 2452, providing for tax relief during times of calamity, Representative Arthur Yap.
To the Committee on Social Services.
House Bill 2453, promoting and supporting the development of corn industry, Representative Arthur
To
Yap.
the Committee on Agriculture and Food.
House Bill 2454, prescribing the honorarium allowances of barangay officials, Representative Arthur Yap.
To the Committee on Local Government.
House Bill 2455, promoting rural development, Representative Arthur Yap.
To the Committee on Agriculture and Food.
House Bill 2456, institutionalizing the conditional cash subsidy program, Representative Arthur Yap.
To the Committee on Poverty Alleviation.
House Bill 2457, rationalizing the resource management of the water sector, Representative Arthur Yap.
To the Committee on Government Reorganization and the Committee on Public Works and Highways.
House Bill 2458, establishing the Agri Scholarship for Agribusiness and Entrepreneurship Programs, Representative Arthur Yap.
To the Committee on Higher and Technical Education.
House Bill 2459, institutionalizing the Agricultural Guarantee Fund pool, Representative Arthur Yap.
To the Committee on Government Enterprises and Privatization.
House Bill 2460, mandating LGUs to earmark a portion of their IRA, Sep. Arthur Yap.
To the Committee on Local Government.
House Bill 2461, establishing the Bohol Special Economic Zone, Sep. Arthur Yap.
To the Committee on Economic Affairs and the Committee on Trade and Industry.
House Bill 2462, prescribing the strengthening of the National Extension System, Sep. Arthur Yap.
To the Committee on Agriculture and Food and the Committee on Aquaculture and Fisheries Resources.
House Bill 2463, granting additional compensation in the form of special allowances, Sep. Arthur Yap.
To the Committee on Local Government.
House Bill 2464, revitalizing the coconut industry, Representative Arthur Yap.
To the Committee on Agriculture and Food.
House Bill 2465, creating a Department of Fisheries and Aquatic Resources, Representative Arthur Yap.
To the Committee on Government Reorganization and the Committee on Aquaculture and Fisheries Resources.
House Bill 2466, requiring our national, regional, provincial government hospitals to establish, operate, and maintain a dialysis ward, Representative Arthur Yap.
To the Committee on Health.
House Bill 2467, reinstating the ROTC, Representative Gomez.
To the Committee on Higher and Technical Education and the Committee on National Defense and Security.
House Bill 2468, declaring the province of Lanao del Norte as tourism development area, Representative Maporo.
To the Committee on Tourism.
House Bill 2469 and 2470, establishing the Colambungan Arboretum, Representative Maporo.
To the Special Committee on Reforestation.
House Bill 2471, strengthening the private security industry, Representative Heron.
To the Committee on Public Order and Safety.
House Bill 2472, granting agricultural farmers and farmer beneficiaries non-benefits, Representative Heron.
To the Committee on Higher and Technical Education.
House Bill 2473, strengthening the right of cooperatives, Representative Heron.
To the Committee on Cooperatives Development.
House Bill 2474, prohibiting the use of word Muslim and Christians, Papandayan.
To the Committee on Public Information.
House Bill 2475, prohibiting the privatization and corporatization of public hospitals, Sarate, and several others.
To the Committee on Health.
House Bill 2476, regulating public solicitations, Agabao and Roa Puno.
To the Committee on Social Services.
House Bill 2477, granting 15% fair discount, Castelo.
To the Committee on Transportation.
House Bill 2478, designating 3 integrated and centralized bus terminals at Castelo.
To the Committee on Transportation.
House Bill 2479, prescribing and implementing seat space requirements at Castelo.
To the Committee on Transportation.
House Bill 2480, establishing an alternative online learning systems at Castelo.
To the Committee on Basic Education and Culture and the Committee on Higher and Technical Education.
House Bill 2481, allowing advertisers and advertising agencies to determine billboard content, Representative Castelo.
To the Committee on Public Information.
House Bill 2482, mandating the Philippine Sports Commission, Representative Castelo.
To the Committee on Youth and Sports Development.
House Bill 2483, declaring July 4th every a special non-working holiday, Representative Cueva.
To the Committee on Revision of Laws.
House Bill 2484, declaring June 11 every a special non-working holiday, Representative Cueva.
To the Committee on Revision of Laws.
House Bill 2485, creating the Lake Mainit Development Authority, Representatives Amante and Barbers.
To the Committee on Government Enterprises and Privatization.
House Bill 2486, providing for local absentee voting, Representative Sansing.
To the Committee on Suffrage and Electoral Reforms.
House Bill 2487, providing for local absentee voting for PWD, Representative Sansing.
To the Committee on Suffrage and Electoral Reforms.
House Bill 2488, declaring Immaculate Conception Parish Church, Representative Sansing.
To the Committee on Tourism.
House Bill 2489, declaring Mount Bulaylay in Coyapo, Nueva Ecija, Representative Sansing.
To the Committee on Tourism.
House Bill 2490, declaring the Diocesan Shrine of St. John the Baptist Church, Representative Sansing.
To the Committee on Tourism.
House Bill 2491, increasing the monthly salaries of public school teachers, Representative Sansing.
To the Committee on Appropriations.
House Bill 2496, providing for a system of redistributing recycling food surplus, Estrella.
To the Committee on Poverty Alleviation.
House Bill 2497, creating 2 additional branches of the MTC, Representative Sandoval.
To the Committee on Justice.
House Bill 2498, establishing the University of the Philippines in Zamboanga, Representative Dalipe.
To the Committee on Higher and Technical Education.
House Bill 2499, amending Section 10 of Republic Act 8239, Representative Dalipe.
To the Committee on Foreign Affairs.
House Bill 2500, 2501, creating additional barangays, Representative Hopper.
To the Committee on Local Government.
House Bill 2505, establishing mandatory coverage in the SSS of Ortega and Estrella.
To the Committee on Government Enterprises and Privatization.
House Bill 2509, providing a framework for citizen participation, Representative Kua.
To the Committee on Information and Communications Technology.
House Bill 2510, Collective Investment Schemes Law, Representative Kua.
To the Committee on Economic Affairs.
House Bill 2511, strengthening the Philippine Comprehensive Policy on HIV and AIDS, Representative Angara Castillo.
To the Committee on Health.
House Bill 2512, scaling up nutrition during the first 1,000 days of life, Representative Angara Castillo.
To the Committee on Health.
House Bill 2513, providing for the mandatory PhilHealth coverage for all PWDs, Roa Puno.
To the Committee on Health.
House Bill 2514, providing all barangay officials of C. Alvarado.
To the Committee on Local Government.
House Bill 2515, amending BP Bilang 22, Reserve Durano.
To the Committee on Banks and Financial Intermediaries.
House Bill 2516, creating a Science National High School, Representative Mercado.
To the Committee on Basic Education and Culture.
House Bill 2517, providing for the construction of a circumferential road, Representative Mercado.
To the Committee on Public Works and Highways.
House Bill 2518, creating a national high school, Representative Mercado.
To the Committee on Basic Education and Culture.
House Bill 2524, mandating the construction of San Juan to Naba Hinunangan Road, Representative Mercado.
To the Committee on Public Works and Highways.
House Bill 2525, creating the Limasawa Tourism Development Authority, Representative Mercado.
To the Committee on Tourism.
House Bill 2526, establishing a College of Forestry in Southern Leyte, Representative Mercado.
To the Committee on Higher and Technical Education.
House Bill 2527, declaring Ginsaungon Eco Adventure Park, Representative Mercado.
To the Committee on Tourism.
House Bill 2528, providing for the apportionment of the province of Southern Leyte, Representative Mercado.
To the Committee on Local Government.
House Bill 2529, rationalizing local taxation, Representative Uy Julian.
To the Committee on Local Government.
House Bill 2530, regulating motorcycles for hire, Representative Uy Julian.
To the Committee on Transportation.
House Bill 2531, upgrading the position of sanitation inspector, Representative C. Alvarado.
To the Committee on Appropriations.
House Bill 2539, granting free college entrance examinations, Representative Tambunting.
To the Committee on Basic Education and Culture.
House Bill 2540, requiring the use of energy-efficient lighting products, Tambunting.
To the Committee on Energy.
House Bill 2541, strengthening the barangays through support for barangay officials, Tambunting.
To the Committee on Local Government.
House Bill 2542, prescribing the extension of the validity of the professional non-professional driver's license at Pimentel.
To the Committee on Transportation.
House Bill 2544, prescribing new rates of tax on taxable income sa Pineda and Romero.
To the Committee on Ways and Means.
House Bill 2545, expanding the conditions for entitlement sa Pineda and Romero.
To the Committee on Poverty Alleviation.
House Bill 2546, granting mandatory automatic PhilHealth coverage to all PWDs, Representative Pineda and Romero.
To the Committee on Health.
House Bill 2548, providing for a comprehensive nursing law, Representative Zarate.
To the Committee on Civil Service and Professional Regulation.
House Bill 2549, institutionalizing and enhancing the role of parent-teacher associations, Representative Romualdez.
To the Committee on Basic Education and Culture.
House Bill 2550, providing benefits and incentives to accredited child development workers, Representative Romualdez.
To the Committee on Welfare of Children.
House Bill 2551, creating public rehabilitation and treatment centers at Olivares.
To the Committee on Health.
House Bill 2552, creating a Port District Engineering Office sa Roque
To
Rack.
the Committee on Public Works and Highways.
House Bill 2553, establishing the Teodoro and Pipito Memorial Hospital sa Roque.
To the Committee on Health.
House Bill 2554, establishing a land transportation office sa Roque.
To the Committee on Transportation.
House Bill 2555, expanding the Philippine Disaster Risk Reduction and Management Systems, Representative Castelo.
To the Committee on National Defense and Security.
House Bill 2556, granting NTC direct regulatory powers of Castelo.
To the Committee on Information and Communications Technology.
House Bill 2557, specifying one more exemption under Article 2 of the Revised Penal Code, Representative Castelo.
To the Committee on Overseas Workers Affairs.
House Bill 2558, constituting the COA Office of the Ombudsman and Committee on Oversight, Representative Castelo.
To the Committee on Appropriations.
House Bill 2559, creating the Office for Information and Regulatory Affairs, Representative Castelo.
To the Committee on Trade and Industry and the Committee on Small Business and Entrepreneurship Development.
House Bill 2560, unilaterally mandating CHED to define campus hazing, Representative Castelo.
To the Committee on Higher and Technical Education.
House Bill 2561, regulating the use of sidewalks, Representative Barbers.
To the Committee on Public Works and Highways.
House Bill 2563, creating local cabinet secretary positions, Representative Palma.
To the Committee on Revision of Laws.
House Bill 2564, providing fixed compensations, Representative Palma.
To the Committee on Appropriations.
House Bill 2565, seeking to include barangay officials in the compulsory membership of the GSIS, Representative Palma.
To the Committee on Government Enterprises and Privatization.
House Bill 2566, mandating the appointment of one midwife for each barangay, Representative Palma.
To the Committee on Health.
House Bill 2567, providing for the conversion of the provincial road from junction Lutiman to Gicam Road, St. Palma.
To the Committee on Public Works and Highways.
Message from the Senate, message dated August 3.
To the Committee on Rules. Majority Leader.
Madam Speaker, Your Honor, I move that we call the roll of members. So move, Madam Speaker, Your Honor.
Any objection? Hearing none, the Secretary General is directed to call the roll of members.
Roll call of members, honorable representatives. Abad, Abaya, Abayon, Abellanosa, Abu, Abueg, Acharon, Acop, Acosta, Acosta Alba, Adjong, Advincula, Agaraw, Agabaw, Aglipay Villar, Akbar, Albano, Alcala, Alejano, Almario, Almonte, Alonte, Alvarez Franz, Alvarez Mercedes, Alvarez Pantaleon, Amante, Amatong, Andaya, Angara Castillo, Antonino, Antonio, Aragones, Arbizon, Arcillas, Arenas, Atienza, Aumentado, Bagaw, Bagaching, Bagilat, Banal, Barbers, Barsaga, Batucabe, Batawil, Bautista Bandigan, Bilaro, Belmonte Feliciano, Belmonte Jose Christopher, Belmonte Ricardo, Benitez, Bernos, Bertiz, Biason, Billones, Biron, Bulilia, Bondok, Bordado, Bravo Anthony, Bravo Marabida, Brosas, Bulot Bigtang, Cagas, Calderon, Calixto Rubiano, Caminero, Campos, Canama, Cari, Casilaw, Castelo, Castro Franz, Castro Fredinil, Catamco, Cayetano, Celeste, Serapica, Cerilles, Chavez, Chipeco, Co, Cuanco, Collantes, Cortés, Cortuna, Cosalan, Crisólogo, Cuba, Cuaresma, Cueva, Dalipe, Dalog, Daza, De Jesus, De Venecia, De Vera, Defensor, Del Mar, Del Rosario, De Losa Montalia, Dimaporo Abdullah, Dimaporo Khalid, Duabit, Durano, D, Elago, Enverga, Erice, Erigel, Ermita Buain, Escudero, Espina, Espino, Estrella, Eusebio, Evardone, Fariñas, Fernando, Ferrer Juliet, Ferrer Luis, Ferriol Pascual, Floirendo, Flores, Fortun, Fortuno, Fentebelia, Garbin, Garcia Gwendolyn, Garcia Jose, Garcia Albano, Garin Richard, Garin Sharon, Gasataya, Gatchalian, Heron, Guana Cristina, Gomart, Gomez, Gonzaga, Gonzales Alexandria, Gonzales Aurelio, Gonzales Fernando, Goriseta, Gullias, Hernandez, Herrera D, Hofer, Halusos, Javier, Ko, Konghun, Labad-Labad, Lacson, Lagman, Lanete, Laugan, Lasatin, Liachon, Lee, Lim Kay Chong, Lobregat, Lopez Benhur, Lopez Carlo, Lopez Manuel, Loyola, Macapagal Arroyo, Maceda, Madrona, Malapitan, Manalo, Mangawang, Mangudadato Suharto, Mangudadato Sajid, Marcoleta, Marcos, Mariño, Marquez, Martinez, Matugas, Miliana, Mending, Mercado, Mirasol, Montoro, Nava, Nieto, Noel, Nograles Jericho, Nograles Carlo, Nolasco, Núñez Malañaon, Uaminal, Ocampo, Olivares, Ong Edwin, Ong Henry, Ortega Pablo, Ortega Vini, Pacquiao, Paduano, Palma, Pancho, Panganiban, Panotes, Papandayan, Pichay, Pimentel, Pineda, Plaza, Primicia Sagabas, Kimbo, Radasa, Ramirez Sato, Ramos, Relampagos, Revilla, Roa Puno, Robes, Rocamora, Rodriguez Isidro, Rodriguez Maximo, Roman, Romero, Romualdez, Romualdo, Roque, Roque Hari, Roque Rogelio, Sakdalan, Sagarbaria, Sahali, Salceda, Salimbangon, Salo, Salon, Sambar, Sandoval, Santos Recto, Sarmiento Cesar, Sarmiento Edgar, Sabiliano, Sema, Xiao, Silverio, Singson, Swansing Estrelita, Swansing Horacio, Suarez, Si Alvarado, Tambunting, Tan Angelina, Tan Milagrosa, Tan Shirley, Tejada, Teves, Chanco, Ting, Tiño, Tolentino, Treñas, Tugna, Tupas, Turabi Nataman, Ti, Umali, Unabia, Ungab, Unico, Uy Juliet, Uy Rolando, Uy Bareta, Vargas, Vargas Alfonso, Velarde, Velasco Lord Alan, Velasco Catera, Veloso, Vergara, Villafuerte, Villanueva, Villarasa Suarez, Villarica, Villarin, Villago, Yap Arthur, Yap Melesio, Yap Victor, Yu, Zamora Mar Carmen, Zamora Ronaldo, Zarate, Subiri. Madam Speaker, the roll call shows that 239 members responded to the call.
With 239 members responding to the call, the chair declares the presence of a quorum. Majority Leader.
Madam Speaker, we take time out to greet some of our guests in the gallery. We have guests of the Honorable Carlo Nograles, the Honorable Congressman Sarmiento, the Honorable Mark Aaron Sambar, and the Honorable Jericho Jonas Nograles. They are Madam Priscilla Baek of Uber and Mr. Leo Gonzalez of Grab. Guests here in the gallery, Madam Speaker.
May we request the guests so mentioned to please rise to be recognized. Welcome to the House of Representatives.
Likewise, Madam Speaker, we would like to greet the rest of the guests of the Honorable Harry Roque of the Party List Kabayan. They are from the Balay Rehabilitation Center, Lisa Ugay, Sarah Jane Salimbagat, Josephine Lascano. From the International Committee of the Red Cross, Attorney Evecar Cruz Ferre. From the National Anti-Poverty Commission, Victims of Disaster and Calamity Sector, Redentor Matibag, Regina Antequesa, Editha Simagala. And from the UP Law Center, IILS, Attorney Marwil Yasos, Attorney Celeste Sembrano Malyari, Milagros Baitiong, and Aurelia Tolentino. Guests of the Honorable Harry Roque, Madam
We
Speaker.
welcome the guests from Kabayan Party List. Welcome to the House of Representatives.
Madam Speaker, Your Honor, having disposed of business of the day and with the unanimous consent of the House, I move that we declare a privilege hour. So move, Madam Speaker, Your Honor.
Is there any objection? The chair hears none. The motion is approved. The chair declares a privilege hour.
Madam Speaker, the first of our colleagues who wishes to avail of the privilege hour is the gentleman from the Party List Kabayan. I move for the recognition of the Honorable Harry Roque. So move, Madam Speaker, Your Honor.
The Honorable Harry Roque is now recognized for his privileged speech.
Madam Speaker, colleagues, ladies and gentlemen, good afternoon. Over the past few weeks, both local and international media, both local and international, have reported that hundreds of our fellow citizens have perished at the hands of state and non-state actors on what appears to be an unprecedented war against drugs and drug syndicates. If anything, what is more alarming than the number of people who have died is the number of people at home or in this room who have failed to recognize that we are at war against our own people within our own territory. While we can all agree that the invasion of illegal drugs in our society is an insidious evil, we must certainly agree that murdering accused persons is clearly manifest one. It is in this light that the amendment of the International Humanitarian Law, or IHL, is timely. The development of IHL has moved towards protecting civilians not only in international armed conflicts, but also during times of peace. Thus, IHL protects us not only during times of war, it protects us at this very moment from the authority of our military. The importance of IHL is now greater than it has ever been. Today, I speak before you in matters of personal and collective privilege, and in advance of August 12, which we commemorate as International Humanitarian Law Day, or IHL Day in the Philippines, as decreed by Executive Order Number 134. Let us take this opportunity to remind ourselves of the significance of IHL, how it has protected innocent civilians in wars all over the world, in the wars of the past, and how we can use it to protect our fellow brothers and sisters in the war at hand. IHL is that branch of international law that is applicable where there is an armed conflict. It seeks to protect individuals who are not actively taking part in any armed conflict. Included in this group of individuals accorded protection are the biggest group of individuals civilians. It also seeks to limit the means and methods of warfare that combatants may resort to. Mr. Speaker, I am proud to say that our country has made strides in strengthening its commitment and adherence to international humanitarian law or the law on armed conflict, acting on the constitutional principle that we as a nation renounce war as an instrument of national policy and adopt generally accepted principles of international law as part of the laws of the land. Foremost of this is the passage by this august body of Republic Act 9851, or the Philippine Act on Crimes Against International Humanitarian Law, Genocide, and Other Crimes Against Humanity, enacted on 11 December 2009, which defines and prohibits war crimes, crimes against humanity, and genocide. Furthermore, it codified the applicability of the exercise of universal jurisdiction for these crimes, thereby subjecting every Filipino, even a sitting president, to possible indictment. We have affirmed the commitment of the country to uphold the principles of international law as demonstrated by our ratification to such conventions such as the 1948 Genocide Convention and its additional protocols. In 2011, we also became the 117th state party to the Rome Statute of the International Criminal Court, The Philippines now stands among the countries that have undertaken to insulate civilian populations from the adverse consequences of war. However, the culture of impunity within our country presents tough challenges to us as legislators and as thousands of Filipinos in conflict-affected areas. The past decade has saw us grappling with serious violations of IHL, especially the impact of conflicts on children and to communities in armed conflict. In 2003, the UN Secretary General Ban Ki-moon raised concern that virtually all military forces involved in armed conflicts in the Philippines employed child soldiers between the ages of 12 and 17, supplying them with uniforms and weapons in order to further their cause. The MILF, the NPA, NDFP, Abu Sayyaf, and even our very own armed forces of the Philippines are all guilty of this unlawful practice. Whether fighting on or behalf of the state, children have been caught in the middle of these socio-political conflicts of men. The United Nations has even verified the recruitment and use of 17 children by the Bangsamoro Islamic Freedom Fighters. 15 of them were used as human shields. Just this year, the UN verified the rape of a 14-year-old girl by 3 soldiers in 3 separate incidents in May and July. The soldiers, fortunately, were punished under court-martial proceedings. We have also verified cases of attacks on schools and education personnel taking place in indigenous communities. Private schools run by non-governmental organizations were systematically targeted for alleged links to the New People's Army. 5 incidents were attributed to the Magahat paramilitary group, 3 to the Armed Forces of the Philippines, 2 to the Alamara paramilitary group, and 1 each to the New People's Army and the Bangsamoro Islamic Freedom Fighters. On the situation of internally displaced persons, displacements caused by conflict and violence is reported to be on the rise since 2015. As of May 2015, it was estimated that at least 119,000 people remain displaced in the Philippines due to conflict and violence. This is nearly twice the number of people who were displaced in 2014. The majority of these persons fled military offensives launched by the AFP against the BIFF at the end of February 2015 in the provinces of Maguindanao and North Cotabato. Special mention must be given to Mindanao. It is estimated that since the year 2000, over 4 million people have been displaced there at one time due to a combination of conflict, crime, and violence, including clan-related violence or RIDO. Mr. Speaker, Madam Speaker, how can we not be alarmed by this data? How is it that we know very little about the victims of wars within our territory? The answer is simple. The most vulnerable victims of war are, as a general rule, the most marginalized: women, children, indigenous people, and those furthest away from Manila. IHL is significant because it protects all of us, but its true value lies in the fact that it seeks to protect those who need protection the most. Recently, media has also been asking me if the supposed extrajudicial killings suspected to be drug pushers fall under the scope of IHL and can be brought to the International Criminal Court for redress. If I may, I would like to take some time to answer this carefully. I stress that although we refer to the war against drugs as a war, it is not covered by IHL. It is governed by human rights law and international criminal law, specifically by international criminal law, which is an area where IHL and human rights have recently converged. Under Article 7, Section 1 of the Rome Statute, a crime against humanity is defined, and I quote, as a widespread or systematic attack directed against any civilian population with knowledge of such an attack. By definition, crimes against humanity may be committed in times of peace without the existence of an armed conflict, which is why crimes against humanity are outside the scope of IHL. But from what we can see today, it is clear that civilian populations are in fact under attack. We see this, and the International Court of Justice has recognized this fact through news reports all around us, overwhelmingly establishing that hundreds of Filipinos have been killed either directly or by governmental forces or with the support or tolerance. The numbers today range from a high of 900 to a low of 600. It is also clear that apparently the President is aware of these acts and that they are in fact ongoing. Even without proof of directive on his part, he has in many instances spoken about the use of violence against drug syndicates. The trigger question is whether these attacks can be considered widespread or systematic to justify an indictment. To understand what these two words mean, widespread and systematic, we take a look at jurisprudence for guidance. In the seminal case of Prosecutor versus Akayesu, decided by the International Criminal Tribunal for Rwanda, a former mayor, Jean-Paul Akayesu, was found guilty for 9 counts, including crimes against humanity, for subjecting many Tutsis to violence and other forms of hatred during the Rwandan genocide of 1994. To refresh your memory, this genocide was systematically implemented with state organs asking the population to go ahead and rape Tutsi women so they can taste how awful tasting these Tutsi women were. According to the Tribunal for Rwanda, the phrase widespread could be defined as massive, frequent, large-scale action carried out collectively with considerable seriousness and directed against a multiplicity of victims, while systematic could be defined as thoroughly organized and following a regular pattern on the basis of common policy involving substantial public or private resources. Moreover, according to the International Criminal Tribunal for the former Yugoslavia, in the case of Prosecutor versus Blasky, the term systematic was further defined as follows: the existence of a political objective, a plan pursuant to which the attack is perpetrated, or an ideology in the broad sense of the word, that is, to destroy, persecute, or weaken a community. The perpetration of a criminal act on a very large scale against a group of civilians, or the repeated and continuous commission of inhumane acts linked to one another, the preparation and use of significant public or private resources, whether military or otherwise, and the implication of high-level political and or military authorities in the definition and establishment of the methodical plan. The plan, however, according to the tribunal, need not be declared expressly or even stated clearly and precisely. It may be surmised from the occurrence of a series of events. In the case of Prosecutor versus Kunarac, the International Criminal Tribunal for the former Yugoslavia Appeals Chamber held that while proof that the attack was directed against a civilian population and proof that it was widespread or systematic were legal elements of the crime, it was not necessary to show that they were the result of the existence of a policy or plan. The existence of a policy or plan could evidentially be relevant, but it was not a legal element of the crime. What can we conclude from this survey of international law? While it would be imprudent for me to say with certainty that President Duterte has already committed a crime against humanity, it would still be a disservice to this entire nation if I did not warn the President to be careful. Neither the Rome Statute nor general international law prescribes a minimum number of victims for an indictment, so long as the ICC believes that the war on drugs is widespread and systematic, they are likely to investigate. Note that the principle of state immunity is not an effective shield against the International Criminal Court. The ICC has indicted leaders even during their term of office. It has done so in Kenya, Sudan, and other countries. Even without actual or direct participation, the President can be indicted for crimes under the principle of command responsibility, so long as he knew that such crimes were being committed and he failed to take all necessary and reasonable measures within his powers to stop such acts. The ICC does not need to wait for news about the massacre of an entire town or barangay before it can investigate. If the administration does not temper the methods it has been using for the past few weeks, then it is only a matter of time before the international community turns its focus to the Philippines for justice. Please note that no less than 500 international organizations have now expressed alarm over these drug-related extralegal killings. It is true that the ICC operates under the principle of complementarity, meaning that primary jurisdiction to prosecute international crimes still belong to the state, and that is why we have the IHL law. However, the International Tribunal may step in when it is clear that the state is unwilling and unable to do so under the principle of aududere au adjudicare principle. In other words, half-hearted investigation efforts or the refusal to investigate and prosecute widespread and systematic extrajudicial killings constituting crimes against humanity just cannot be an effective shield against the ICC's jurisdiction. Madam Speaker, fellow colleagues, in the same way that the Philippines has looked to international law as an impartial normative guide in addressing the issues surrounding the West Philippine Sea, so should it recall that it has acceded to the Rome Statute in its entirety. We cannot have our cake and eat it too. If we are to aspire for any form of compliance with the ruling by the Permanent Court of Arbitration, we should not, on the other hand, turn a blind eye towards violations of human rights and international law within our own country. Today, to commemorate IHL Further, or the IHL Day Further, I'm filing two bills so we may better be able to discharge our obligations under international law, and I will file this after this privileged speech. The first is an IHL Amendatory Act. It is meant to address infirmities or shortcomings in Republic Act 9851. It revises the definition of crime of genocide, crimes against humanity, and war crimes to follow and adhere strictly to the definitions found in the Rome Statute of the International Criminal Court. It also deletes some acts not found in the Rome Statute. This proposed bill also integrates the elements of crimes as provided by members of the Assembly of State Parties of the International Criminal Court to assist in the interpretation and application of these crimes. The second is a bill entitled Philippine ICC Cooperation Act with the principal objective of facilitating compliance with the Philippine obligation under the Rome Statute. The bill recognizes that the ICC is not a supranational court. Its jurisdiction is complementary to that of states that have ratified its statute. When the court does act, it will rely at every step of its investigation and prosecution upon the cooperation with national law enforcement authorities to help gather evidence and testimony, to investigate and document crime scenes, to arrest suspects, and to imprison those individuals who are convicted by the court. The court will also rely on national law enforcement bodies to respect without delay privileges and immunities of the court and persons involved in its work. For your information, Madam Speaker, ladies and gentlemen, we have a Filipino sitting as a judge in the International Criminal Court in the person of Professor Raul Pangalangan, former Dean of the UP College of Law. Madam Speaker, this is also an act of solidarity with the hundreds, if not thousands, of children recruited to our efforts, over 60 million refugees who are fleeing siege conditions and enduring hunger and statelessness, doctors and medical personnel killed by indiscriminate aerial bombardment, and other persons who perish or endure widespread violations of international humanitarian law. The bills are an output of the technical working group of the ICC implementation project of the Institute of International Legal Studies of the UP Law Center, which until my filing of my certificate of candidacy, I used to head. I thank the members and experts of the technical working group composed of the following agencies: the Institute of the International Legal Studies of the UP Law Center, the UP College of Law, the Department of Justice, the Department of Foreign Affairs, the Office of the Solicitor General, the Coalition of the International Criminal Court, the Commission on Human Rights, the Department of National Defense, and the Philippine Coalition for the International Criminal Court. I also thank non-governmental organizations for their work in IHL promotion and humanitarian protection. The Guardian of IHL, the International Committee of the Red Cross, and civil society groups like Balay Rehabilitation play the important role of neutral and impartial civil society in the promotion, respect, and implementation of IHL in the Philippines. Without going into detail, I note related bills which had already been filed on the first day of the 17th Congress on internally displaced persons and the establishment of a permanent Human Rights Victims Compensation Board, in addition to the existing one, which exists solely for providing compensation to victims of martial law. Honorable members of the House of Representatives, Madam Speaker, let us do our part in the fight against impunity of heinous crimes and ensure sanctions against the most horrendous violations that can be committed in times of armed conflict and in the absence of one. It is in our power to help uphold the rule of law in our country and the system of international justice. To one and all, happy IHL Day, happy IHL Month. Maraming salamat po. I am now ready for interpretation if there are any.
Majority Leader.
Madam Speaker, I move that we refer the speech of the Honorable Roque to the Committee on Rules. So move, Madam Speaker, Your Honor.
Is there any objection? Hearing none, the motion to refer the speech of the Honorable Roque to the Committee on Rules is hereby approved.
Thank you, Madam Speaker.
Madam
Majority Leader.
Speaker, the next of our colleagues who wishes to avail of the privilege is the gentleman from the 1st District of Western Samar. I move that we recognize the Honorable Edgar Sarmiento. So move, Madam Speaker, Your Honor.
The Honorable Edgar Sarmiento is now recognized for his privileged speech.
Madam Speaker, my dear colleagues, ladies and gentlemen, good afternoon. Easing Metro Manila's traffic situation. I am a civil engineer by profession and a practicing one before I became a member of this chamber. I submitted this traffic scheme proposal August of last year prior to the Asia Pacific Economic Cooperation Summit while looking at the different construction activities of the elevated skyways. I remembered reading from a write of a former NEDA chief that, quote, if time were money, then the Philippines is losing 2.4 billion a day in potential income due to traffic congestion that eats up time that could have been used for productive pursuits, unquote. The NEDA chief based his statement on the study of JICA on the effect of traffic in Metro Manila to the national economy. However, based on the Senate hearing this morning, Secretary Art Tugade of DOTR stated that our country is actually losing 3.2 billion pesos a day in potential income due to traffic problem. Madam Speaker, whether or not the loss of 3.2 billion pesos daily is accurate or not, the reality which we don't want to live with any longer is the traffic problem. After our session tonight, Madam Speaker, once we hit the road, we go back to the same reality, traffic chaos. Our traffic situation is a multi-dimensional problem that has evolved and accrued through the years. We cannot just blame one cause alone, like lack of discipline among drivers or the presence of colorum PUBs plying our roads. Madam Speaker, EDSA was built in the 1940s when the population in Metro Manila was only 1.7 million, while the national population was only 19 million. 76 years later, the most needed infrastructures to support a rapidly growing metropolis and population, now totaling around 13 million in the national capital region, were never proportionately built for one reason or another. From the way the civil engineer in me sees it, and maybe all of us, we can no longer widen the roads. What can we do in the meantime, Madam Speaker? My proposal is to adopt the scheme used in New York City. New York, which is one of the oldest cities in the world, adopted a one-way system to resolve the traffic that up to now is still working. A one-way system may be considered while work is in progress in the needed infrastructures like the connector for NLEX to SLEX, airport skyways, and proposed elevated highways. EDSA portion of Rojas Boulevard passing through C3, C4, and C5 should be converted into a one-way directional scheme. By converting these three major arteries to one-way, the road capacity will be doubled, hence allowing the traffic to flow smoothly. This will give a space for the construction of new elevated highways, additional public transport system, and address the problem of the delivery trucks as well. This will just be a temporary scheme for a limited period of time. Upon completion of needed infrastructure to decongest the traffic route can be restored back to the original system. Like the typical North America interstate, these three major arteries of roads, EDSA, Rojas Boulevard, C3, 4, and 5, will serve as a one-way interstate highway, allowing to exit to the different communities with the same traffic flow like Ortigas, the Fort, Bonifacio, Makati, and others. My detailed proposal are as follows. One, convert the entire EDSA from Caloocan all the way to Pasay MOA intersection to one-way, except for the outermost lanes, which serves as bus rapid transit system lanes. One outer lane going down to Pasay, the other side outer lane going back to Caloocan City. Two, convert portion of Rojas Boulevard passing through C3, C4 as a one-way scheme also. This road will be used as a route going back to Caloocan from those residing in Manila. Three, convert the entire stretch from C5 Taguig as a one-way scheme. This is the route that will be used by commuters going back to Quezon City. By doubling the road capacity, the Bus Rapid Transit System, or BRT system, can be introduced the soonest possible time. For immediate implementation, bus companies can form a consortium and assign some of their buses to the proposed Bus Rapid Transit System, which will be supervised by the owners and regulated by LTFRB. The Bus Rapid Transit System will have a frequency of one bus per 10 minutes. This will eliminate the problem of undisciplined bus drivers because there will no longer be competition or overtaking, since the different bus companies already are assured of profit since they are now the owner of the consortium firm. Intersections along the three major one-way roads will be reduced to have a consistent traffic flow. The number of intersections should be strategically determined by MMDA and the LGUs concerned. Furthermore, the following are my proposal for an efficient movement of passengers and goods to attain the productivity level put forward by the Management Association of the Philippines to ensure that we are on the right track in achieving the Philippines' GDP growth target of 7% or higher. One, provincial buses should no longer be allowed in EDSA. Instead, terminals will be placed in the north and south of EDSA. Bus companies that operate the Bus Rapid Transit System will be asked to provide buses that will carry passengers from the north and south terminals to the loading areas. Two, for immediate implementation and to cut costs and development of platforms and waiting sheds, the LRT and MRT terminals, loading and unloading areas will also serve as the only loading and unloading terminals for their buses. This will augment the capacity of our mass railway transit system, since passengers who will not be accommodated in the trains have the option to use the BRT system. Three, delivery trucks will be allowed on the outermost lanes, provided that they will still follow the scheduled track ban. Madam Speaker, the solution to our traffic problem calls for action that must be legislated and actions that can simply be implemented by the executive department. One notable legislative proposal is the grant of emergency powers to the President. The emergency powers to be granted to the President would ease the application of procurement laws and prevent lower courts, except the Supreme Court, from issuing TROs and the likes to executive actions in traffic solutions. While the grant of emergency powers might seem sufficient, I believe that our traffic situation, which took years to build up, calls for every doable and practical solution possible. Hence, Madam Speaker, this representation will be glad and will be supportive if our House Transportation Committee Chairman, Congressman Cesar Sarmiento, will convene a multi-government caucus for solving traffic in Metro Manila. Similar to the LEDAC, the Legislative Executive Development Advisory Council, I believe that a similar setup is in order to draw up long-term roadmap with short, medium, and long-term targets in easing traffic in Manila. Let us attack the problem of traffic from all directions in a calibrated and strategic manner, Madam Speaker. We should have done this way back. We should have at least do something about the traffic mess in time for the upcoming Miss Universe pageant, and let us do it now to make it really more fun in the Philippines. Thank you, Madam Speaker. Good afternoon, everyone. I am ready to interpolate if ever there are any. Thank you.
Majority Leader.
Madam Speaker, I move that we refer the speech of the Honorable Sarmiento to the Committee on Rules. Madam Speaker, I move that we recognize the Honorable De Venecia to interpellate the Honorable Speaker. So move, Madam Speaker, Your Honor.
The Honorable De Venecia is now recognized for his interpellation.
With permission from the Honorable Congressman from Samar, is it okay if I may just ask one query to your privileged speech?
Gladly, Madam Speaker.
Thank you, Madam Chair. First of all, congratulations on this thorough study of the traffic situation in Metro Manila. I am from the 4th District of Pangasinan, but of course I live here in Metro Manila and I encounter this traffic day in and day out. I remember the State of the Nation address of President Duterte, and he did mention the Pasig River ferry system as a means of decongesting the traffic. I wanted to ask your expertise, my dear colleague, on the viability of this Pasig River ferry system. I myself am very curious as to the scope and the effectivity of this, and how might this affect the overall picture of the traffic in Manila.
Madam Speaker, if you notice, most passengers do ride on the railway system rather than the ferry. Much as we want to introduce it, but one company before or two already introduced this sea transportation, but unluckily, it's not sustainable.
Well, that is all. I just wanted to be enlightened because the prospect of a ferry system in Pasig is very exciting, and I wish we could have a more thorough study of how this could possibly decongest the traffic situation in Metro Manila. And I believe this same system is being explored in Cebu, as I read in the newspaper, in that it's become also very traffic to get from the airport to the city, and that's one of the ways that they have devised to alleviate this problem. Thank you very much, Madam Speaker. Thank you.
Thank you.
Majority Leader.
Madam Speaker, Your Honor, I move that we refer the speech of the Honorable Sarmiento and its interpellation to the Committee on Rules. So move, Madam Speaker, Your Honor.
Is there any objection? The Chair hears none. The motion to refer the speech of the Honorable Sarmiento to the Committee on Rules is hereby approved.
Madam Speaker, the next of our colleagues who wishes to avail of the privilege is the lady from the party list Kabataan. I move that we recognize the Honorable Sarah Jane Elago for her privileged speech. So move, Madam Speaker, Your Honor.
The Honorable Sarah Jane Ilago from the party list Kabataan is now recognized for her privileged speech.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. Distinguished colleagues, good afternoon. I rise on a matter of personal and collective privilege. On Friday, August 12, we are one with the youth of the world in celebrating the International Youth Day. Institutionalized in 1998 by the World Conference of Ministers responsible for youth, The annual celebration aims to highlight the global impact of the youth. This year, the International Youth Day is themed The Road to 2030, eradicating poverty and achieving sustainable consumption and production. But how do we make this relevant to the Filipino youth? How do we make initiatives and engagements felt on the ground? Earlier today, we had a successful Young Legislators Forum. On behalf of student leaders from various schools and universities, we are grateful to our colleagues, especially to Speaker Alvarez, to Representative Toff de Venecia, who co-hosted the event, to Representative Winnie Castelo, to Representative Geraldine Roman, and to Representative Jonathan C. Alvarado, who did not only grace the event, but more importantly, expressed their commitment to decisively address the needs and demands of the youth and the student sector. Maraming salamat po sa inyong pagdalo at pakikiisa sa laban ng mga kabataan. Madam Speaker, in this morning's forum, we were enlightened on the gravity of the crisis that haunts the Philippine education sector. More importantly, we felt the urgent need to respond. A significant majority of the Filipino youth are students, but we fear that this will no longer be the case in the future if education becomes more deregulated and privatized. For instance, representatives from a secondary public school aired out their concerns over the ramifications of the K-12 program. They denounced forced enrollment to private senior high schools due to the insufficiency of public senior high school facilities. They hit the flawed voucher system, forced homeschooling, among others. This representation earlier decried the 400,000 students who were forced to drop out. Tertiary education is at a much worse state now. College unaffordability escalated under the previous administration. In 2010, students had to pay an average of 30,000 to 50,000 pesos on tuition. This amount grossly doubled to 100,000 in 2015. The inaccessibility of UP education is emblematic of the crisis of public tertiary education system in our country. With the implementation of the socialized tuition system, or commonly known as the SDS, students are expected to shell out an average of 30,000 pesos and an additional of 20,000 pesos for other school fees on top of the already burdensome tuition. Under this system, only 1% of the population of UP students in Diliman enjoy free tuition. This is while the system has collected over 400 million, but only 30 million has been expended for student financial assistance. It is only accurate that UP students call themselves Scholar ng Bayan and no longer Rather, the UP students call themselves Scholar ng Bayad and no longer Scholars ng Bayan. Other commercialization schemes were raised by students. The dubious e-registration program under the EUP or SAIS, the privatization of dormitories, food service, and the perverse return service agreement of UP Manila, among others. Coupled with the implementation of these anti-student policies are various forms of repression and democratic rights violations. To this day, some schools still lack representation. And in dire cases, students no longer see the relevance of student councils. As a former national president of the National Union of Students of the Philippines, this is an affront to representation and undermines the history and political value of student governance in higher education institutions. Nakakalungkot po na sa ating pinakamalalaking educational institutions, nagkakaroon ng mga failure of election sa ating mga student councils. At ito ay talagang nagpapakita ng dapat pa nating pagkaisahan sa pagbibigay halaga sa ating mga student representation sa ating mga paaralan. Academic freedom is perennially threatened with the presence and operations of military personnel. We have yet to see the pull-out of military troops and personnel in schools. especially in Lumad schools in Mindanao. Now, with news to revive the mandatory ROTC, we fear that the operations of the military will be legitimized and consequentially academic freedom will be undermined. Outside our schools and universities, the youth labor force are subject to 555, or commonly known as the 5-month endo, the 5-month renewal, or contractualization. Contractualization thrives because of the extreme inadequacy of jobs vis-a-vis the number of the new entrants into the labor force every year. In addition, young skilled or semi-skilled workers are forced to migrate to find work overseas where they are exposed to different forms of vulnerabilities. The neoliberal thrust in the labor sector is to increase the cheap labor force for massive profits. Now, the past administration's K-12 program is the material basis for the intensified contractualization. It will produce a reserve force of semi-skilled workers that could serve as steady supply of cheap laborers, both for the domestic and global markets. There is unrest, discontent, and resistance among the people, and more pervasively among the youth. Change is coming. It's a commitment and a challenge. It is a challenge to deviate from the economics that has shoved the people to economic and political exploitation. Change, therefore, can only be substantiated with the abrogation of the neoliberal policies. It is only by decisively breaking away from the chains of deregulation, privatization, and commercialization of the youth and the workforce can we foment the youth as agents of genuine social change that the nation desires and deserves. To end, Madam Speaker, this representation is ultimately invigorated with the enthusiasm and energy of the youth leaders who visited us early today. The future is bright for as long as we, the youth, use our openness to ideas, our energy, and our idealism to serve the people. There is no greater task than this. There is no better way to celebrate the International Youth Day than to reignite the commitment of the youth to fulfill our historical role to side with the oppressed and the marginalized, to fight for freedom and civil liberties of the Filipino people. Mabuhay ang mga pag-asa ng bayan, mabuhay ang mga kabataan at sambayan ng Pilipino. Maraming salamat.
Majority Leader.
Madam Speaker, I move that we recognize the gentleman from the 3rd District of Camarines Sur, the Honorable Gabriel Bordado Jr., for his chance to interpellate the Honorable Speaker.
The Honorable Bordado is now recognized for his interpellation.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. I am happy to hear the voice, the literal and figurative voice of the nation's young people here. Kindly see, Madam Speaker, if I can propound a question to Congresswoman Ilago. Where is Congresswoman Ilago?
Yes, my pleasure, Your Honor.
Congresswoman, Madam Speaker, recently several quarters expressed alarm over the supposed revisionism in the history of our country. This process, as stated by, again, some quarters, is using the social media platforms and the ones greatly affected by this so-called revisionism, in quotation marks, are the young people of the Philippines. Congresswoman Ilago, kindly tell us what specific courses of action are you taking, your group is taking, to address this concern.
Thank you, Representative Bordado. Kabataan Party List is really fighting for an education system that is nationalist, scientific, and mass-oriented. By nationalism, we fight for the teaching of nationalism in history subject that is nourished by telling of stories and yung saysay ng kasaysayan sa pamamagitan ng pagkikwento kung ano nga ba yung mga nagawa ng mga bayani na nauna sa amin. Our Filipino revolutionary heroes are young. Andres Bonifacio, when he founded the Katipunan, he was just 29. Meron tayong pinakabata na general sa Katipunan at 21 years old, si Gregorio del Pilar when he was martyred in Tirad Pass. Kaya kami po ay naniniwala, lalong-lalo na sa pag-i-instill ng nationalism at kung ano ang mga tunay na nangyari at ang saysay ng ating kasaysayan sa magitan ng pagtuturo ng ating kasaysayan, hindi lamang sa grade school, high school, hanggang sa kolehiyo.
I fully agree, Madam Speaker, with the contention of our Congresswoman Ilago that in history, most of our leaders were very young. But the problem, Madam Speaker, history books are not as accurate as we have seen before. We are faced with this problem of books full of erroneous info.
Indeed, we should really review our history books, and we uphold the fact that history should really be told from the perspective of the Filipino people, based on the struggle of the Filipino people, from the pre-colonial times up to now, diba? We should really give importance to the importance of studying history based from the perspective of the toiling masses of the Filipino people.
Yes, precisely. I agree with you.
Yes.
That we must take the side of the masses in interpreting history. But the problem is a lot of history books have been discovered to be full of errors. So what specific course of action will your group take on this?
Right now, we are partnering with the National Historical Commission of the Philippines. We're part of their Project Saysay. It's a project where they go to public high schools, they go to public basic education schools, and to really tell history based from the National Historical Commission's perspectives. And what's really important with this, we should really check, diba, the textbooks, kasi ito yung pinag-aaralan ng ating mga kabataan at sa ating paniniwala na knowledge is power indeed. Diba? Mainam na itong mga libro natin, isang kasalanan, isang disservice sa ating mga students, sa ating mga kabataan, kung ang mismong mga textbooks na required silang basahin, required silang pag-aralan, ang mga modules na ginagamit nila sa paghuhubog ng kanilang mga utak, ng kanilang mga perspektiba sa buhay, ay mayroong mali-mali. Diba? Yan po ay dapat itama at yan ay dapat mapag-aralan, hindi lamang naming mga estudyante, kundi ng ating mga kaguruan. Dapat po tayong magtulong-tulungan para dyan. Dahil kami po ay naniniwala na ang mga kabataan bilang mga pag-asa ng bayan ay hindi lamang dapat mag-aral ng kasaysayan, kundi dapat lumikha ng kasaysayan para sa mamamayang Pilipino. Maraming salamat po.
Thank you very much, Congresswoman.
Thank you, Representative Bordado.
Majority Leader.
Madam Speaker, I move that we refer the speech of the Honorable Sarah Jane Elago and its interpellation to the Committee on Rules. So move, Madam Speaker, Your Honor.
Is there any objection? The chair hears none. The motion to refer the speech of the Honorable Ilago to the Committee on Rules is hereby approved.
Madam Speaker, I move that we terminate the privilege hour. So move, Madam Speaker, Your Honor.
Is there any objection? The chair hears none. The privileged hour is terminated.
Madam Speaker, I move for the approval of Journal number 8 of August 9, 2016. So move, Madam Speaker, Your Honor.
Is there any objection? The chair hears none. The approval of the journal of the previous session dated August 9, 2016 is hereby approved.
Madam Speaker,
Majority Leader.
I move for the election of the following as members of the Committee on Constitutional Amendments: Alfredo Benitez, Roy Loyola, Cesar Sarmiento, Reynaldo Umali, Lord Alan Velasco, Maria Carmen Zamora, Gas Tambunting, Johnny Pimentel, Horacio Swansing Jr., Arthur Yap, Manuel Dalipe, Edward Maceda, and Ron Salo.
Is there any objection? The chair hears none. The motion is approved and the members so mentioned by the Majority Leader is hereby elected to their respective committees.
Madam Speaker, I move that we adjourn session till August 15, 4 o'clock in the afternoon.
The session, any
So moved,
objection?
Madam
The
Speaker,
chair
Your Honor.
hears none. The session is adjourned until August 15, 2016, at 4 o'clock in the afternoon.
Mamimit kami sa Senate. Bakit sa'yo mo sasabihin?